Hi, my name is Takara. This is my presentation on deaf athletes. I wanted to do this topic because I think it's important to highlight the achievements that people in the deaf community have made. Before World War I, there really wasn't a lot of deaf athletes participating in sports, but during the war, when the deaf weren't allowed to be drafted into the war front, they stayed at home and were drafted into sports teams where they were able to showcase their skills. This changed the public perception of what deaf people were able to accomplish. Participating in sports is a form of empowerment for a lot of deaf individuals. They don't see themselves as disabled, and they don't see themselves as any different from an average person. Deaf athletes have, in the past, faced a lot of barriers when trying to get into sports. A lot of teams in the past, especially professional teams, have struggled with the idea of allowing deaf individuals to join their teams because they worried about things like, will they be able to communicate? Will they be able to perform like all the other team members? The people on this board have proved that they can. Deafness doesn't affect the body. It doesn't affect the body's abilities. Now, sometimes people who are deaf can also have other physical limitations, but for the most part, a deaf person can do anything but hear. And the people on this board are a testament to that. A lot of the people on this board had trouble getting into the sports that they wanted to get into. A lot of people thought that they wouldn't be capable or that they would have troubles working as a team with other team members. Some of the people on here you probably haven't heard of. Some of the people you have. Some of these people you might have seen before and didn't know they were deaf. They definitely had their moments of growth and their moments of struggle, but for the most part, a lot of coaches and a lot of team members were worried that communication would cause problems for these individuals. Imagine being on a basketball team and playing a game. You can hear the crowd cheering. You can hear the coach yelling. Imagine what that would be like if you couldn't hear those things. Would you still be able to play? Absolutely. You would still be able to do your very best. As time goes on and as society becomes more progressive, deaf athletes are having a more and more prominent role in society. Some of the ways that teams have helped deaf athletes participate is by changing whistles to flashing lights or other visual forms of signaling the player. Some of the people who have made the greatest impacts on sports have been deaf. One of those is Paul Hubbard. See, Paul Hubbard was a team captain at Gallaudet University, which is a college for people who are deaf. There, he noticed that the other team was often spying on their discussions when they were talking about what to do next in the play. So he developed the huddle, where players round up in a circle and cover what they're talking about so that the other team wasn't able to see their signing. This is something that's used in football today by teams all across the country. Some of the people on this list are history makers, like William Hoy. William Hoy was the second person ever to hit a grand slam. He also has the second highest total number of walks ever. He's one of the most accomplished players in the world. Ashley Fulick, she was one of the first females ever to be taken on the American Honda racing team. That was a big accomplishment for her. But she was also the first deaf person to win a medal at the X Games. Matt Hamill was the first person ever, and still the only person ever, to defeat John Jones. He was a 3-time NCAA champion. Uliaki Iko, she is known as one of the most famous fencers in the whole world. She has accolades and medals that will probably never be taught. Derek Coleman was the first offensive NFL player and helped lead his team to a Super Bowl. He now is an inspirational author. David Smith was winning awards and breaking records before he even became a professional athlete. He is known as the world's best blocker in volleyball. Shelly Beatty is a very famous deaf bodybuilder who is known across the world for her grace and beauty. All of these athletes, no matter what year they were born, no matter what gender they belong to, no matter what race they belong to, all have something in common, and that is their hearing loss. They all have varying degrees of hearing loss, but they all identify as deaf. They worked very hard to rise through the ranks of their sport and make it to a place where they could prove that they can do anything.